plan to build this Wakanda city. But what people don't get is that there is a loophole in our Constitution whereby if there's a controversy brought up about land controversies, equity, maritime, and all these other types of things with other states and other citizens and people subjugated under this and that and the other, you can bring that controversy to the Supreme Court or Congress to work that out. And I believe that the Democrats are putting her up to this, honestly, along with the Ashanti King and Kingdom and all these other people, because they know that loophole is there. And what they want to do is usurp our reparations towards Africa. She has stated before in videos past how we would just take our reparations and splurge on it, buy chicken, Popeyes, and all this disrespectful talk. That she needs to be the one, and others that are more of a business mind or understanding of how the world works, because we don't have our shit together, right? For them to take over the reins and help all the black people out. But if you look at Ghana, they've never helped their own people out, ever. And they won't be helping us out either. They just want to pillage our reparation in the guise of unity by using our Constitution, which they didn't think no one would ever read up on it. I just so happened to find a Constitution of 2-3 years ago, and I was like, let me read the Constitution, because she's talking to definitive about we must go back to Africa. We must build back Africa, whether you like it or not. She was using that type of lingo. And I was like, wait a minute. Why is she saying it like we don't have a choice? Why is she saying this as if she knows something that we don't know? So that's when I started researching through the Constitution, and that's when I found the loophole about controversies of land, maritime, and this and that and the other. Now, go figure, 11 months ago, her introduction, or a year ago, to the ADDI database was maybe 3 months into her introduction. She brings up $500 billion bond is applied to this database, and that there is a holder that has to deal with stocks and bonds and whatnot. But he's a diaspora. No name, no nothing. But she messed up and stated that the Chinese people were trying to get them to get this bond, and they turned it down. Have you ever seen corrupt Africans turn down any billions of dollars before? Or millions of dollars before? $500 million before? So she said that they objected the Chinese people from that bond, and somehow this mystery diaspora has the bond, and all they need to do was donate for $1 million towards this bond, and that they will let the resources of Africa pay the rest of it, like it would be just Africa's resources that would pay the rest, and everything would be everything. And then I started noticing she was going haywire about, okay, now it was the $500 bond, and then it was, this Wakanda city, and then she talked about a bank, and then she talked about cryptocurrencies. She's been talking about so much stuff related to this database, this ADDI database, which again, she's tallying up a bill to show that supposedly we're on board with this Wakanda city and anything that's attached to it to usurp our reparations. And if Yvette Carnell doesn't know that, she needs to know. If Tariq Nasheed doesn't know that, he needs to know. And all of us as Black Americans need to know that. She's coming in the guise of unity, but if she really cared about unity, wouldn't you care about Haiti? Why aren't you talking about the Haitians struggling and whatnot? You don't hear a peep about that. They're dead to her. The only thing she's concerned about is what she believes we can give Africa. So that is why, like I said, when she was fired, people were trying to claim that she was fired because she was outspoken against France, and somehow the AU was under the colonist France, and they got offended and they had to let her go. But lo and behold, I was keeping in touch with other YouTubers that are non-Black, because I don't believe in just listening to one group of people. I want to listen to everybody's vantage point so that I can understand what is the truth and what is a lie. And so happened I was following this South African YouTuber, Living Life. I don't think he's online anymore. I think he got kicked the boot. But it was a white guy that used to be living in South Africa. He's in Australia. And he broke the news about her being fired and the real reason behind it. And not many people know. But who told him was a Pan-African, not agency, but institute or whatever organization. I think it was called Pan-African Alliance. And they spilled the beans about why she was really fired. And the reason why she was really fired, because when she was the ambassador, she used everything catered around the name diaspora. She started a so-called, beauty pageant, using that as a guise to elicit people to, be the African queen or whatever of the diaspora. And then she would gain money from that. And instead of letting the AU know about her getting this money, she pocketed the money. She made her own separate bank from that. She didn't tell nobody nothing, and she garnered $181,000 behind that. She stole like $10,000 from, I guess, a donation from Exxon, went missing. And then she charged people for certain things in regards to diaspora. She had the diaspora men's situation, diaspora women's situation, kids situation, youth situation, everything diaspora. She was frauding. And this came out. And I discovered it. I did a video about it about a year ago. And hardly nobody liked my video. Nobody shared my video. Nobody was outraged about this. But she's now looking at us as the next lick. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So
do you want the video about her being fired first off?
Okay, what video is that?
Go to my channel, and it's let me make sure it's the latest video. The next video is the latest. It's a short video. I made sure it was short for it so that we wouldn't take a long time listening to it. But it's like
She was fired?
Yeah, she was fired. And so she's pretending as if she never was fired. People were just hating on her for being outspoken. But no, she was frauding the African Union under the guise of her programs that she made up about the diaspora. And now she's back at it again with us now. So, yeah, if you go to why do Black Americans on YouTube want to beef but not talk about fraud, fraud predator talking at us. It's the last video I made that's listed.
I'm sending a video here. It says former AU ambassador speech that got her eliminated by powers that be.
No, that's what they're saying. That's what they're covering to say. But the real issue is NPR uncovered it. That's what they want us to believe. But the real reason NPR discovered with internal investigating, and like I said, it has not been widespreadly talked about because nobody wants to believe that this woman that's been talking fiery about unity would be a part of fraudulent activities, but she is. So yeah, my last video just 4 minutes long and 53 seconds, something like that. If you just play that, you'll see clearly what I'm talking about.
Do you have the footage of her, like physical footage of her, like somewhere where we can see it?
It's on my video. If you just push that, you'll, yeah. Okay. That's why I did it, so that we wouldn't have to be wrangling around me trying to find it, and I can't find it, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll put myself on mute so you can play it.
All right.
Therapy. We do not need to continue to solidify those differences that they created for us. We are Africans. Let's look at solutions. Let's not continue.
You have to rewind it.
Not to perpetuate those divisions they set up at the top that had no clue. That was Dr. Quao did not seek approval ended by the African Union last month. No more shall we continue to be
she had become quite popular among the African diaspora. When her term was ended by the African Union last month, almost 90,000 people signed an online petition asking the AU to reinstate her. The petition claims that she was fired because of that kind of speech and called her dismissal unjust. But an internal investigation by the African Union alleges that Dr. Kwao misappropriated funds, that she created a toxic environment for her staff, and that she fundraised for personal projects using the African Union name. The investigation, for example, found that Dr. Kwao spent $181,000 on an AU beauty pageant. The money, the investigation found, was earmarked for other projects, but Dr. Kwao did not seek approval to spend that money on the pageant. Not only that, but investigators found she sold tickets online for up to $150 a person. But Dr. Kwao did not turn over sales to the African Union. Reached by phone, Dr. Kwao calls the investigation a sham and a witch hunt. She says she used ticket proceeds to pay members of the diaspora who had experience putting together events like these.
I don't think even one of them got $1,000 for 4 months of working.
The investigation also found that a $10,000 grant from Chevron was never accounted for. Dr. Kwao says that money never came to the African Union. She says when she became ambassador, she found an office in disarray.
The problem was you are dealing with an office with staff that had no clue. That was really the problem with the mission.
She says she tried to make the mission more dynamic, but the staff, she says, always resisted her. She says when an auditor came in, he believed the staff and not her. In her view, this investigation was the staff's attempt to railroad her.
They don't come to work. When I am out of town, they don't show up at all. And they're stealing, by the way. Stealing frivolous claims for education, frivolous claims for healthcare. It is a horrible office. The staff is stealing money. No question about it.
Eva Kalondo, the spokesperson for the chief of the African Union Commission, says she will not comment on an internal investigation, but she confirmed that the report obtained by NPR was authentic. Kalondo says Dr. Kwao is a political appointee serving at the pleasure of the AU chair, and he has simply decided her time was up.
This is diplomatic practice around the world since diplomatic practice began.
When confronted with Dr. Kwao's allegations about the AU mission in Washington, Kalondo says the AU is a diplomatic service, not, quote, group therapy.
We do not need to continue to solidify those differences that they created for us. We're Africans. Let's look at solutions. Let's not continue to perpetuate those divisions they set upon us. But that takes you and I having a serious conversation with images in the mirror. Let's accept that we were defeated where it matters most, which is the mind. And until the mind heals, that mind that's telling you don't talk to that Cameroonian because they're French speaking. Don't talk to that Cameroonian because they're English speaking. That mindset, we got to change it. That English speaking Cameroonian is your sister. That French speaking Cameroonian is your sister. President Paul Biya is going to do his thing in Cameroon, but you're here in America. You're here in Europe. Let's get along, my brothers and sisters. Let's get along. Let's create that meaningful unity of purpose. When we continue to divide ourselves, guess what? The enemy will continue to win.
So she's back at it again with the diaspora nonsense talk because she wants us to be next. And for the life of me, I could not understand why, after me dropping that a year ago, hardly no one has talked about it, but I figure it's behind how people are making their money by doing these beefs, online with black men ain't shit, ratchet women ain't shit. Everybody's living not life off the hog, just degrading us for the world to see. So who has time to try to swap over to be righteous and true to your own people here in America and fight back from people trying to pickpocket us? And literally, she's trying to use the Constitution behind our back. I found the Constitution. I didn't have it in my possession. Somehow I was lying on a hill one day. I was walking and found it. But most of us don't research. We assume, hey, we're Black Americans. Nobody can ever question our status here. But, the Constitution leaves wiggle room for that to be fucked with. And that Amendment 14, people claiming that we're immigrants, people claiming that we belong in Africa, we were stolen, we were prisoners of war. This is the lingo in which she's using to try to dismantle the notion that we're American. She is really, truly our enemy.
So when she started promoting this Wakanda City, I know someone said that they had like a group or something that people can join. Can you tell us about that?
It's ADDI database. She's claiming that everybody that's diaspora is signing up on it, but guess who's being elicited the most? We are. Because of that Constitution, because of our reparations. She is trying, remember, she was supposed to be the African Union ambassador forever. She was not supposed to be fired. It was a lifelong appointment. So for her to get fired, she totally was caught off guard. And she was working as the ambassador to start up this ADDI database. And right in the beginning of her starting it up, she got let go. And instead of her retreating and saying, oh, I got busted, let me just go on about my business, she's still claiming that database is attached to the African Union. How can you say that and you're no longer the ambassador? You're still acting as if you're still an ambassador today, claiming that is still the arm of the African Union, claiming that is still a state. She is stating that the ADDI database is another state of Africa, the 55 states of Africa. And those people that sign on to that database is subjugating themselves to everything that's included into the database. All these projects, all these so-called, the bond, the $500 million bond that the holder, I believe, is China. She's not telling people all that over and over again. She's moving it on now to the Wakanda City because that seems to work fantastic with our fantasies of Wakanda. So she's making that seem like, oh, we're going to get this Wakanda, but she's conning us, literally. And she's trying to usurp our reparations under the guise of unity and under the guise of that loophole. She claimed she has 7 lawyers that's looking into the Constitution, that's talking about getting our reparations for all Black people. But we know how a lot of Africans are tribalistic and they only care about their tribe. She's married to a Ghanaian. She's friends with the Ashanti king. They might even be related for all I know. But she's thrilled to talk about how wonderful their kingdom is and how good people they are. But she's finessing us. And she wants to rip us off and leave us with absolutely nothing. This woman has disdain for us. And she's pretending like she don't, but she does. And that's why she's talking about, why can't we get along? Why can't you accept being African? She did not expect. No one expected us to have, the ADOS and the FBA and this mindset that we're now coming up with, finally defending ourselves to say we're our own because everybody else been acting that way. And we've been taking advantage behind allowing people to just use our struggle, our civil rights and everything else and jumpstart off of something else on their own. Just look at what Black Lives Matter did. $90 billion they got, and we have no red cent in the community. Do you know how much $90 million could have did for America right now? But they ran off into the sunset. She's going to do the same exact thing.
So how is the information supposed to get out for African Americans to know about this database? Because I've never heard about it.
I talked about it a year ago. You can go back a year ago. I don't know the exact date right now, but it's been on this Make Africa Great Again platform. She only visits Pan-African platforms. That's how she's going around acting like she's spreading this for everyone to hear. She's not trying to contact Yvette Carnell. She's not trying to contact, Tyreek Nasheed or anyone else on our platforms for us to say, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? She's steering clear of all that. She only will go on Roland Martin because he is an immigrant. He is a Caribbean descent. And he don't give a fuck about Black Americans. He's making his money off of pillaging us as well. We have all these gatekeepers such as him and such as the Black Caucus, Sheila Lee, and all these others that have no intention of helping us get our reparations. They're blocking us from getting our reparations and keeping us distracted with all these beefs and everything else so that somebody like that can just go behind the scenes and do other things. And then one day we wake up and hear, oh, your reparations been forwarded to Africa for this Wakanda city. Are you happy, y'all? I'm just saying, that's what's coming. If we don't get ahead of it, she's supposed to have this meeting December 2nd to 13th to have these newer investors to go to Ghana and this and that and the other. But like I said, those that sign up on that database, you're linking yourself to a $500 million bond, which is debt slavery. You're repeating debt slavery all over again. And she is the one saying it's a beautiful thing to sign up for a $500 million bond. If it's so wonderful, well, then the bond that you have with France, giving them $500 billion a year shouldn't be a problem either, right? So why is a $500 million good for us? And then all these other plans that you attach that to. That's good for us, though? I'm supposed to be ecstatic about bond slavery?
What's bond slavery? Explain that to us.
Bond slavery is, well, I'd rather for you to look it up because you can find smaller videos, but it's something to affect people getting tricked into believing, like, say, for instance, a lot of Indian people have this happen, where they want to get married, someone will come along and say, oh, do you need some money to help your ceremony for marriage and whatever. Somebody will say, yeah, can I borrow $5,000 and I'll pay you back, right? Then they take the money, and then next thing you know, they come a day or two later saying you owe us this money, and you have to pay it off, and then they make it to where you have to do like the cement building stuff and this and that for generations upon generations, and you end up being a slave. Bond slavery is slavery. The debt that you have incurred by being tricked to align yourself with some money that from somebody you really don't know and you shouldn't really want to know, but you trusted them, and then they got you snatched up into the bond slavery situation. But if you put it in on YouTube, you'll find, a lot of different explanations about it, but a lot of Indian people get trapped in that. And China people, a lot of people get trapped in that are overseas, that they tend to get trapped in that. That's what she's doing to us. That's what she's attempting to do.
Wow. So just give us a little background about Dr. ARIKANA, where she's from, her history.
Well, she's from Zimbabwe, and she's been here since 1977 or 1978. She is a doctor now living in a plantation, an old plantation in Tennessee. And like I said before, I believe that she probably had ties, her family, with the slave trade. All these people that's been speaking to us, haven't you noticed they're past enslavers? Ghana, Nigeria, she's from Zimbabwe, Senegal was Akon, all past enslavers are telling us to invest, telling us to trust them, telling us to unify with them. They are scrambling out of control. They owe a lot of debt to China. And they have projects already pending and right now ongoing with China. China is building a railroad across Africa right now. And she tries to say that we need to build the railroads, we need to build the airports, we need to build this and that and the other. Do you know any Black Americans that got the capacity like China right now to build how they're building? No, we do not. But she's given that lie to make us believe that somehow we have the power if we just believe. She's a false prophet. She is the Antichrist. She is trying to take the little bit we got. We're not being helped by Biden for a reason. And if you look at the Black Caucus, they all clamored. If you just put in Black Caucus at the year of return of Ghana, they're all there, even Nancy Pelosi. they're all in cahoots with Ghana. They all have already stated in the background how we're going to feel so depleted here that we're going to want to go to Africa. That's why we're not being relieved. That's why we're not being seen as anything relevant right now. The passage of the China anti-hate bill should have gave us really a red flag about how are they going to go over our head when we've been complaining and talking about this forever. But they did. You see what I'm saying? And they figure, oh, we're just going to give you what we tell you going to have. Like Biden talks about, oh, you're not black if you don't vote for us. You're not this or that if we don't do what we say. They're still trying to treat us like slaves of old. And if we allow them to treat us like that, they're going to continue to treat us like that. That's why I feel like this information is vital for us to understand how far fucked up we are to believe that these people have our best interests at heart when they're just trying to pickpocket us, period. So yeah, just put in bond slavery and find the smallest video you can, and they'll explain what that is real quick.
You said bond slavery?
Yeah, BOND and then slavery.
See a lot. Let me see.
Took it off just real quick. Bondage, slavery. Let's see. Debt bondage. Debt bondage.
That bondage form a form of slavery. Is that the one?
Yep.
Right.
The slave. Debt bondage or bonded labor is defined in the 1956 Supplementary Convention on the Abolition of Slavery, the slave trade and institutions and practices similar to slavery as one of those practices that is a slavery-like practice or condition. What distinguishes it from normal working to pay off a debt is that the value of the labor is not computed towards setting off the amount of the debt. The debt can continue for years, even for generations. It's handed down from parent to child in some situations. And there is no indication of when the debt will be extinguished. Poverty is one of the main drivers of debt bondage, but it would then affect people who are poor, people who are disadvantaged, people who've been discriminated against and marginalized, people from ethnic minorities and other minority groups, indigenous groups, caste-affected groups, women, children. Migrant workers are very vulnerable. They face the prospect, because they're traveling from one destination to another, mainly to seek work. They face the prospect of being trafficked into sexual exploitation or forced labor, or another form of labor exploitation. In some instances, they can't directly seek an opportunity in another country, so they use an intermediary or recruitment agent. So before they leave their home country, they're already in debt. When governments accept that the phenomena does exist and that they have obligations under international human rights law to protect citizens, to protect people in their jurisdiction, and to abolish these practices and punish the perpetrators, and they start putting in place legislation that is properly enforced, that results in effective remedies, I think that would address one of the key challenges.